All right. Fact check this podcast. Good gosh, you can tell it's been a couple weeks. I apologize for the fact that it has been a couple weeks. I had some content that I was going to work on 2 weeks ago, and it didn't work out. I got busy with other stuff. I am very much a cold weather podcaster and writer. When it starts warming up, I just want to be in shorts with my shirt off out in the yard or in the garage or in the garden, or like literally doing anything other than sitting indoors. So I have been bad about putting out content of late. And I apologize for that, but I'm going to make up for it this week a little bit because you're going to get a double dose today. I'm going to do a solo right now. And then this evening, I'll be joined by Don the Pleb, assuming nothing falls through. Don and I were supposed to go last week and do this episode. And then I had other stuff come up. We had a goat die, and it was a whole thing with the kids and the wife, and everybody was really sad. So anyway, had to postpone, and just general other craziness with life. So you get a double dose today. You get me solo right now, and then again tonight with Dawn, and then I might even do another solo tomorrow. I gotta see how this kids' schedules are with stuff they got going on with school and everything. But I might squeeze in another solo tomorrow afternoon or evening, and look at another, because I've been banking a bunch of articles and a bunch of different stuff that I really want to talk about. I just haven't really had a chance to sit down and do it. Same for the Substack. I've got several different things bookmarked that I really want to dig into and write about, but I haven't had a chance to do it because I keep having other stuff come up, and I'm not gonna lie, once it really warms up and we get into the summer months and the kids are out of school, this is going to become an afterthought. We are going to spend most of the summer at we got season passes for Holiday World, which is a theme park and water park like right down the road, or about 45 miles away. And honestly, on my days off work, when I've got the kids, we're going to spend most of our time there, just riding rides and going to the wave pool and stuff like that. So once school lets out, don't expect a whole lot of content. And I apologize, but also I'm going to spend time with my kids and have fun. Let's see. Speaking of spending time with your kids and having fun, today's article is from Business Insider on the death of the nuclear family. And I used to think Business Insider wasn't too bad. I thought they were all right. They covered some stuff, especially some stuff from the like corporate America business world in a decent way. But as we've kind of gone forward over the last year and a half or so, man, I'm starting to think Business Insider might legitimately be fucking evil. But anyway, and this is just like one of the examples of that. I've seen quite a few here of late. So let's dig into this. The death of the nuclear family. The typical American family was always a blip. It's time to rethink it. And of course, this is written by a fucking woman. No offense to my female audience. Y'all are actually the good ones. But man, like, women on social media and stuff are just irredeemable almost. The typical American family, a happily married mother and father with 2 children who live under one roof, has slowly deteriorated over the last 50 years. God, I wonder why that is. For most of the 20th century, the word family in America evoked a predictable picture of cookie-cutter cleanliness, the happily married husband and wife, their 2.5 kids, and one improbably well-behaved golden retriever, all under the same roof. But the nuclear family has steadily eroded over the last 50 years. The first major death knell came with the 1973 oil crisis and the 2-year recession that followed, which signaled the end of the West's post-war prosperity boom. Since then, the nuclear family has crumbled piece by piece. In 1970, more than 2/3 of American adults between 25 and 49 lived with a spouse and at least one kid. By 2021, only 37% of adults fit the bill, Pew Research found. Although it may be premature to declare the nuclear family officially over, the model is beginning to look more like a fringe lifestyle choice than the bedrock of American society. And again, why is that? What happened? See, if we go back to the 1970s and we look at everything post civil rights movement, that's when you start to see a lot of incentive being placed on not being a family. The government will take care of you if you just meet all of these certain criteria that they need. So they're incentivizing, or in this case, speaking of the death of the nuclear family, they're disincentivizing the family unit. And is it any wonder that over the last 50 years, we've also watched the progressive decay of society as a whole, like morality and like everything that's good has just gone out the window, and we get more and more fucking degeneracy? Is it any wonder that as the system has killed the nuclear family, it's not something that's just like naturally gone away. It's something that, and I gotta get through the article. I'm gonna go on a soapbox and not get through the whole fucking thing. The demise has sparked no shortage of often racist, sexist, and homophobic political backlash. See, I hate these motherfuckers so much. You don't, if you think you hate journalists enough, you don't. You absolutely don't. You need to find a way to conjure more hate in your heart and in your soul to aim at these worthless motherfuckers. Often racist, sexist, and homophobic political backlash. Because by and large, the ones who still do encapsulate the nuclear family are right-wing, are more conservative. Generally speaking, Republicans. And of course, anything conservative is bad, so that's everything, and everything has to be attacked as either racist, sexist, or homophobic, because you can't just say that you hate the people who don't agree with you. You have to make them into some sort of a unique evil. Oh, fuck these. Oh. I'm gonna get through this. God, I'm like 2 paragraphs in, and I'm already fucking seething. I'm getting more and more disenfranchised with this whole fucking thing. Not this whole thing right here. Like, the more rural you can be and the more separated from this shit that you can be, the better. Like a lot of this stuff that I read about and talk about and look at does not have any effect on me personally at all. And it most likely never will. But holy shit, like, this is what they want for not just for America, for the fucking world. From Elon Musk, the father of 11 kids, to the failed GOP presidential hopeful Vivek Ramaswamy, defenders of so-called traditional family values decry the potential economic hazards of plummeting birth rates and the social disorder caused by unruly men without wives to rein them in. Some even argue that the nuclear family is the cornerstone of democracy itself. Others, meanwhile, have eagerly cheered on the shift away from the stifling gender politics of the 4-person norm. Critics include radical family abolition scholars such as M.E. O'Brien, whose 2023 book, Family Abolition, Capitalism and the Communization of Care. Helicopter rides and firing squads are not good enough for these miserable fucking cunts. The 2023 book, Family Abolition, Capitalism, and the Communizing of Care, argues that the contained family structures cannot carry the immense burden of work placed on them. On the other end of the political spectrum, in an early 2020 cover story for The Atlantic, the conservative columnist David Brooks, let me just go ahead and say, if they write for The Atlantic, they are not a conservative any fucking thing, period. I don't give a good goddamn what they put in their bio. They are not conservative if they write for The Atlantic. Fuck you. They're not. I don't care. They're as conservative as fucking Mike Johnson and Dan Crenshaw. They are not conservative if they write for the fucking Atlantic. The conservative columnist David Brooks declared the nuclear family a mistake. Since the onset of the pandemic, the looming cloud of skepticism hanging over the whole concept of the nuclear family has only thickened. Like it or hate it, the future of the family has never appeared so uncertain. For a society structured around the ideal of the nuclear family, its demise has left everyone wondering, what happens now? What happens now is we need to reject this fucking shit show that they call modernity and get back to what actually founded this country, what actually built us up to a great nation that we were, not this degenerate bullshit that we're going down the road of now. Like many other social norms, the nuclear family was the product of the economic and cultural conditions of a particular time and place. This is complete goddamn horseshit. Upheld by policies and institutions for decades. Until the 19th century, marriage was less the union of two souls in love than the pragmatic, obligatory step in the long tradition of social and family organization. Most Americans at the time lived in extended multi-generational corporate families that worked together to run a family farm or a business. Yes, and that kind of shit works. That it worked for all of human history up until we decided to stop making it work and to start incentivizing degeneracy and bullshit. As the economy industrialized over the course of the 19th century, more young men and women left their family farms for jobs in factories and offices, usually in cities. Free from the watchful eyes of their parents and relatives, these young people began to go on dates, spending their discretionary income on outings to the local movie house or soda counter. In her 2016 book, Labor of Love, The Invention of Dating, Maura Weigel traced this shift by bringing courtship out of the home and into the marketplace. Dating became a lucrative business, she wrote. For the first time in human history, dating made it necessary to buy things in order to get face time with a prospective partner. As dating culture became more entrenched in the economy during the 20th century, a community-based way of life gave way to individuals focusing on their own wants and needs. The middle class expanded, and children were no longer expected to work for their family's economic survival. In white middle-class families, men earned the wages that supported the family, and their wives raised the children and ran the home. The nuclear family became a microcosm of capitalist self-sufficiency and the consumerism that came with it. See, everything. This is why Business Insider has become evil and fucking shit. Everything goes back to socialism or communism now. It was also, in some respects, a fluke. The thing that had worked for all of fucking human history. Okay, not all of human history. For all of civilized human history. When we've seen the most advances, the most growth, the most prosperity for humanity, that's a fluke. It's a fluke, right? Like, literally 1,000 years of nuclear family kind of stuff is a fluke. It wasn't actually like that. It was what we're seeing is that's what really works is straight up just fucking degeneracy and doing whatever the fuck you want and not having kids, not having a wife, not having a family. That's the way we were meant to be. We were meant to live as wild heathens. Yeah. In fucking Stone Ages, like, before the invent of civilization. Like, Jason from 2-Bit Podcast has made it, you don't live in a civilization anymore. Like, we are returning. We are seriously returning back to like caveman type of like pre-civil society type of world. And I mean, if that's the case, if that's what these psycho motherfuckers want, if that's what you think is a good thing, then I hope you know how to defend yourself and how to create your own family, because in those times, the nuclear family was also incredibly important because you had to have people that supported you. You had to have your own tribe. You had to be able to fucking defend yourself. So I mean, if we want to return to that type of, like, barbarianism, family and tribalism is going to become way more important. All right, fuck your melting pot. Who's on my side? Who do I trust? See, they don't understand what they want, because what they want, or they don't actually want what they think they want. They want some idealized version of it, some utopian bullshit that's never going to fucking exist, because that's not human nature. Never has been and never will be. As Brooks noted in The Atlantic, the nuclear family status as the default household arrangement for American adults peaked during the relatively brief window between 1950 and 1965. Again, this is complete fucking horseshit. That the arrangement of the nuclear family peaked between 50 and 65. Like, where the fuck are you coming up with this? When divorce rates plunged, fertility rates boomed, and the post-war economy flourished. It was during these years that a kind of cult formed around this type of family, Brooks wrote, noting that those who broke the mold by opting out of marriage were often seen as deviant or neurotic. They kind of fucking are. Sorry, but they kind of fucking are. The obsession with the nuclear family masked its underlying instability. By the 1970s, social inequality and wage stagnation followed the 1973 oil crisis, and recession had made it impossible for many white, middle-income husbands to sustain entire broods on a single salary. More and more women entered the workforce, giving them greater economic autonomy and enabling some to leave unhappy marriages. After California legalized no-fault divorce in 1969, other states quickly followed. In turn, divorce rates soared. To this day, women initiate the overwhelming majority of divorces. God, we never should have let them out of the fucking kitchen to begin with. This is why they get mad when we say repeal the 19th Amendment. But then when you look at human history, you look especially at American history, anytime they've been given more authority, more rights, more power, they go and destroy society. They fucking destroy society. It's what they do. They're not builders. They are destroyers. I love my wife. She is the exception to the rule. There are some exceptions to the rule. But generally speaking, did we talk about, I know I've talked about women a lot in some of this stuff over my solo stuff. Did we talk about the research study that showed that if when obstacles were put in front of babies, when a baby girl came up to the obstacle, they would cry and throw a fit and sit there. Whereas when a baby boy came to an obstacle, they would either figure out a way to remove it or get around it. I mean, shit's ingrained from fucking birth. And yes, there are exceptions to the rule. There are always exceptions, but generally speaking, we have to speak in generalities because we can't address every single individual case on the fucking planet. If you don't understand generalities, go the fuck away. Thank you. The nuclear family began to rapidly disintegrate, but it wasn't exactly the end of the golden era. As more people have formed families that diverge from the nuclear family norm, the weakness of the structure have become glaring. The biggest fallout we see today is in the childcare crisis, where the self-reliance inherent to the nuclear family model resulted in women bearing the burden of raising children. Although an overwhelming majority of women now work outside the home, they continue to shoulder the bulk of unpaid caregiving labor for children and aging relatives. They also end up doing more household chores. Laundry, cleaning, and cooking are all primarily done by women. Without one partner focused on full-time housekeeping, the amount of work required to run a nuclear family isn't really feasible. All families, without exception, are dependent on extensive outside support, whether that's state welfare programs, paid service people, or extended family members generously helping out. O'Brien, the family abolition author, told me. O'Brien is a piece of fucking shit. That's the conclusion I've come to. I need to go read his article as well, just so that I can confirm that he's a piece of fucking shit. But the segmentation of families can also isolate vulnerable individuals, enabling abuse. Stephanie Kuntz, the author of Marriage, A History, told me, and some such families consciously foster suspicions of those outside the family circle. While this arrangement works nicely for the wealthiest shareholders in a capitalist economic system, it isn't a particularly enticing deal for most Americans. Kristen Goads, an ethnographer. We're going to go with ethnographer. I don't know what the fuck that is. At the University of Pennsylvania, and the author of Everyday Utopia in praise of radical alternatives to the traditional family home, told me. Here's the thing that's the most bullshit about this piece right here. All families, without exception, are dependent on extensive outside support, whether that's state welfare programs, paid service people, or extended family members generously helping out. Because both the husband and wife are working outside the home, and somehow that means that you have to have all of this extra shit going on. My wife and I both work. For as long as we've been married, we've both had full-time jobs. We've never had a housekeeper. We've never relied on, I guess if you consider the kids going to school, is that what does it say? Is the kids going, is our kids attending school state welfare program, or like, is that what they consider that? Because that's the only thing that we've had outside of just the two of us working together to make it work, is the kids go to school. This idea that you can't make this shit work, that it's just untenable, that there's no way for any of this to be possible. Yeah, in the iteration of society that we live in, most things are untenable. Most things are impossible. Most things can't be done by most people because most people are completely fucking useless. They're not willing to put forth the time, the effort, the energy, anything to actually do the shit. My stepson right now is going through kind of a crisis. He's 21, 22, has a couple kids with another on the way, and his girlfriend doesn't work. And he doesn't feel like he's being able to spend enough time with his kids, and he's working a lot of overtime, and he's just so unhappy, and he's just so miserable, and blah, blah, fucking blah. Suck it the fuck up. You are the man of the house. That's your job. See, whoever put this idea in all of these young fucking morons' heads, that your 20s are like your golden years, it's the prime of your life, it's when you're supposed to be living it up, they sold you a fucking lie, and you never should have listened to it. When you're in your 20s, you are young, stupid, broke, you have no experience, you're probably got a new relationship that you're trying to figure out still, and if you're really unlucky, you've also got kids that you have no fucking clue what to do with because you're also a kid yourself. So, your job is to be fucking miserable, work your ass to the bone, and get yourself in a position that in 10 years from now, 15 years from now, you've got all of the good shit that you want and need out of life, and you're able to hit a point where you can start relaxing, start enjoying, start being able to do stuff. The prime of your life is in your late 30s and the early 40s, not in your 20s. Your 20s is when you're young and stupid and broke. And that's when you got to bust your ass to make your life. Whoever sold these fucking kids on this, your 20s to the prime of your life, should be dragged out back and shot in the fucking head because it's a goddamn lie. That is not the reality of life. And I'm sorry to burst your bubble if you had that expectation that your 20s were going to be great. Your 20s are not going to be great. I remember times in my life, mostly through my 20s, where I would work anywhere from 16 to 20 hours a day, go home, take a shower, pass the fuck out, get up, get my kids up, sit at the table with my kids while I scarf down a bowl of cereal and let them jabber at me, and then kiss them on their little heads, get in my truck and go to work and not come home again until fucking midnight, and then do it all over again. 7 days a week for months and months straight. Yeah, you're not going to see your fucking kids, and it sucks. If you get 30 minutes to sit down at the table and eat breakfast with them, you're winning. Because you know what? That's all they need. The rest of the day, they're fully entertained by themselves. They don't need you dicking around in their way. They're going to do all the shit that little kids want to do, and you're mostly going to be annoyed with them if you are spending all that time with them. Go to work, bust your ass, come home, spend 20, 30 minutes just talking to them and letting them sit in your lap and tell you about their day, kiss their little heads and put them to bed, and then pass the fuck out so you can go do it again. Make that money. Get yourself secure and build your family up from there so that in 10, 15 years, then you've got it good and you've got it easy. The idea that the nuclear family doesn't work, that everything is terrible and miserable, it's because you're soft and you fucking suck. Stop being such a fucking pussy. Suck it up and just get shit done. And then the good times come. But you got to be willing to put in the work to get to the good times. They don't just fall in your fucking lap. And that's what everybody under 30 seems to fucking miss is we didn't get here because it was given to us. We got here because we worked our motherfucking asses to the bone. I remember the 20-hour days. I remember 24-hour days. I would work one 24-hour shift every week because it was what was necessary to get shit done. You do what you got to do to make money and to build that better life so that when you're in your late 30s and 40s, then shit's good and shit's easy. Right now, for me, shit's really good and shit's really easy. I do most of what I do because I enjoy it and want to, not because I have any necessity for any of it. You too can get there, but you got to be willing to put in 10 or 15 years of just getting your balls kicked in every fucking day. And it sucks. And your kids aren't going to see you as much as you might want, but they're going to see you enough. And you make the most of the time that you see them so that they have those good memories, that they know that you were a hardworking dad, that you wanted to be there, that you tried everything you could, and you provided for them and you took care of them. That's what you got to do, what you got to do. And that's what makes the nuclear family work. The nuclear family isn't falling apart. The nuclear family isn't dying and failing because it's not a tenable model for society. It's because everybody's such a motherfucking pussy. This arrangement works nicely for the wealthiest shareholders in a capitalist economy. I already read that one. The nuclear family's guise of self-sufficiency only barely conceals its toxic codependence with the market economy. But that dynamic also makes the nuclear family particularly vulnerable to economic pressures. Business Insider is now Communist Insider, in case you were uncertain. The declining birth rate in industrialized countries reflects the economic reality that children are a bad investment for families, and so many people are deciding not to have them. Adjusting for future inflation, the Brookings Institute estimated that it would cost $310,605 to raise a child born in 2015 through age 17, about $43,000 more in today's dollars than what it cost in 1960, after adjusting for inflation. In a 2021 Pew survey, the child-free adults under 50, 44% said they are unlikely to ever have children. When asked why, most responded that they simply don't want to. Nearly 1 in 5 said it was due to the cost. Goldsey pointed out that while a smaller global population has its perks, the planet certainly isn't complaining. How do you fucking know? That's conjecture and complete posturing and bullshit. It poses a serious threat to long-term economic growth. Shrinking GDPs in the future are a direct result of shrinking populations, and that will challenge the very foundations of American capitalism, she said. This is one reason why conservatives are so keen to limit women's reproductive freedoms. Nobody's trying to limit women's reproductive freedoms. We don't want you murdering fucking babies, you evil fucking cunts. It doesn't take much of a mental leap to see why capitalism and the nuclear family make for such cozy bedfellows. Atomized family units produce more labor market and buy greater quantities of stuff than sprawling communal kin groups that can lean on each other to share resources and manpower. The nuclear family's guise of self-sufficiency only barely conceals its toxic codependency with the market economy, but that dynamic also makes the nuclear family particularly vulnerable to economic pressures. Over the years, people who departed from the nuclear norm stopped being seen as aberrations and became examples of the varied paths adulthood could take. Again, that's the degeneracy of society. We don't live in a civilization anymore. We live in a fucking nightmare. Today, nearly a quarter of children in the U.S. live in a single-parent households, and a rising share of adults live without a spouse or romantic partner, either alone or with roommates. Where LGBTQ plus partnership was once criminalized across the country, as well it should have been and should still be, same-sex unions are now sanctioned under federal law. As of 2020, even polyamorous families have gained legal protections in the municipality of Somersville, Massachusetts. Nuke that fucking place off the fucking planet. Thank you. Despite the growing diversity of household types, the nuclear family of the 1950s continues to shape the economics and institutions of American life. By and large, policies that inform tax systems, housing, healthcare, and social services are designed to provide the greatest benefit to married couples and their children. When my partner and I file our annual income taxes in the coming weeks, we'll enjoy a sizable tax break thanks to our decision to tie the knot last fall. And as a dependent on his employer-provided health insurance plan, I'm able to make a living as a freelancer without worrying about healthcare coverage. But that narrow policy focus leaves an increasing number of Americans behind. Though it's unclear what the family of the future will look like, seeds of change are blowing in the breeze. Recent months have seen a deluge of magazine trend pieces, Reddit threads, and newspaper headline posts Mantius speculating about polyamorous families, platonic co-parenting, and mommunes becoming the next big thing. Even the multi-generational household is quietly coming back into vogue, thanks in large part to ongoing cost of living increases and family caregiving needs. See, all of this bullshit in recent month, having a deluge of magazine pieces and Reddit threads and newspaper headlines and all of this stuff, that's how you know it's a fucking op. That's how you know it's controlled. That's how you know they're manipulating you. That stuff doesn't just happen organically. They don't just start talking about this shit. It's fucking organized. They have wanted for the past 50 years, 60 years to destroy the nuclear family. It started with the civil rights movement when they started destroying black families. Why? Because black families formed black communities. Strong black family units formed strong family community units that were doing good post Reformation and post Civil War and all that stuff. Like, they were actually building communities. Then you had the civil rights movement come along, which was a completely subversive thing to make them think that they needed something more. They didn't need anything else. They had it all figured out. They were moving in the right direction. Sure, maybe it was a little bit slower, or it looked like it was a little bit slower. You're coming in with white society had a 150-year head start. Actually, a whole lot fucking more than that. Like several 100-year head start. Because what they were removed from in Africa was nowhere close to civilization that had been established in Europe, that had traveled out and founded America and all of this stuff. So yeah, it was coming together. And maybe it's not coming together all that fast, but it's still coming together. You got, several hundred years that you've behind. You got to catch up. Government is not catching you up. Look at what has happened to the family unit since in black communities since the civil rights movement. It's destroyed the entire black community. That's it. Like I don't know if there's any reclaiming that. And fucking Malcolm X tried to warn them and they wouldn't fucking listen to him. Like, it's insane. Absolutely insane. The pandemic seemed to accelerate a collective sense of urgency to come up with something better. In order for families to function at all, they need lots and lots and lots of external supports, O'Brien said. No, you don't. No, you don't. O'Brien, again, is a fucking commie retard. You don't need tons and tons of external supports. This is fucking bullshit. You've been convinced to think that you need external supports because of bullshit like this, but you don't. During COVID, as some of those external supports disappeared, that became dramatically and painfully obvious to huge numbers of people. Huge numbers of people who don't know how to fucking take care of themselves because they've been taught that they need to rely on literally everybody else and not take any accountability and responsibility for themselves. The lockdowns of the early pandemic also foregrounded the social and relational pitfalls endemic to the nuclear family. The hot box of being around the same people all the time, the lack of feedback, the broader social relationships, and the despair and desperation that can go along with this type of social isolation, particularly for the mothers of young children. Dulce agreed that the pandemic invigorated people's desire for collectivism and community. I wonder why when they were being forced into that kind of shit. Overwhelmed nuclear families reached out to one another for mutual support and formed pandemic pods. Communities set up mutual aid groups to share goods and deliver groceries to elderly and immunocompromised neighbors. In the face of urgent necessity, people began to imagine pathways towards a more expansive definition of family. Suddenly, everybody was talking about how to recreate the village. A lot of people who lived alone and who used to think of having their own place as the ultimate symbol of personal autonomy and success became very lonely, Godsey said. Things like co-living, co-housing, and intentional communities are now making a comeback. 2 websites that match single adults for the purpose of platonically co-parenting children report a 30 to 50% surge in traffic during the COVID lockdown, The Guardian reported. Not everyone agrees that the grass is greener on the other side of the white picket fence. Kuntz, a leading historian of the American family, notes that every family structure comes with its own set of distinct weaknesses, strengths, and possibilities. The extended families of yore guaranteed a measure of built-in support and community that was particularly beneficial for raising children. But the extended family structure also made it far easier for the older generation to control the younger ones, Kuntz said, and tended to undermine the romantic couple relationships in their midst. No family model is perfectly resilient, equitable, or sustainable in a vacuum. It's the larger social context that counts most for how any institution functions, and any decent social systems needs to put protections in place to minimize the chance of abuse and give people options when the institution fails or abuses them. She remains unconvinced that rearranging the family structure will resolve its many ails. She also believes it's unlikely that the typical American family will ever stray too far from the basic configuration of a romantic partnership and children. What she hopes for is a society whose institutions and policies encourage personal security and trust beyond our families and friends, to make our lives better when we are in and when we are out of an intimate romantic relationship. This might include investments in third places, such as public libraries and parks where community members can freely gather, or more radical overhauls, such as the provision of a universal basic income. Of course, we're back to fucking communism, which could reduce inequality, and it's always about inequality, and boost social cohesion. Rather than changing families to be more like society, this vision of the future imagines a society that's more like a big, supportive family. Or commie fucking gobbledygook. But see, they got into something interesting there where they're talking about the pandemic stuff. Numerous family units coming together, forming community, working together. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how it was before the government started getting involved and breaking up those community units and putting everybody under the big umbrella of government, where instead of relying on everybody in your neighborhood to take care of each other, you just rely on daddy government to take care of everybody. That's a broken fucking system that doesn't work. The nuclear family works if you're willing to fucking make it work. And if you work with the other families in your community, you all make it work together. It's not communist bullshit. It's not relying on capitalism. It's working together to do what's necessary to take care of your families, to take care of your children, to take care of your parents, and to have good lives. But it requires fucking work, and the government can't do it, and they'll never be able to do it. And they'll, no matter how much universal basic income or other communist fucking bullshit you throw at it, it's always going to fucking fail. Look at it. Every single communist country that has all of these things that they want to fix to make it where what was that last fucking bullshit line, to make our future society more like a big supportive family. Every time that's been tried the way they want to do it, it's fucking failed miserably, and it alienates everybody. Go make it happen. Suck it up, grow a pair, and go put in the fucking work to make it fucking work. That's all I got for today on this one. Be sure to join me tonight with Don the Pleb. We'll be talking about so around this time every year, there's a whole lot of military equipment that moves around the country, and everybody like freaks out. Oh my God, we're going to war. Oh my God, they're getting ready to start like breaking down houses, and oh my God. Pump the brakes, take a chill pill, and tune in tonight when me and Don explain exactly what's going on when you see all of this equipment moving around the country. In the meantime, hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you tonight, hopefully. Later.